Somewhere in an industrial park on the outskirts of Catalonia, there is a warehouse that does not officially exist. The doors are locked, the windows are barred. The air inside is stale and heavy with the smell of polyester and cardboard. Inside this warehouse, sitting on pallets wrapped in plastic, are 300,000 football shirts. They are fully finished, they are high quality, they are dyed in the iconic Blaugrana colors of FC Barcelona. But look closely at the chest. There is no Nike Swoosh. There is only the crest of the club. These shirts will never be worn. They will never be sold in the megastore at the Camp Nou. They will never see the floodlights of a Champions League night. They are ghosts. To the environmentalist, this is a crime against the planet. To the casual fan, this looks like a management disaster, a waste of fabric and labor in a time of financial crisis. But to the forensic accountant, this pile of rotting polyester is something else entirely. It is the receipt for the most aggressive, high-stakes poker hand in the history of sports business. It is the physical evidence of a corporate war between FC Barcelona and Nike. Joan Laporta, the president of Barcelona, didn't burn 4 million euros on these shirts because he is incompetent. He burned it to send a message. He built a mountain of waste to secure a mountain of gold. Welcome to the story of the forbidden jersey. To understand why these shirts exist, we have to rewind to the dark winter of early 2024. The relationship between FC Barcelona and Nike, a partnership that had defined football since 1998, was broken. Joan Laporta was desperate. The club was drowning in debt. The economic levers had been pulled, but the cash flow was still dry. He needed a new deal, a bigger deal. He looked at the contract Nike was paying, roughly 105 million euros a year, and decided it was below fair market value. He looked at Manchester United. He looked at Real Madrid. He demanded parity. Nike, sitting comfortably in Oregon, refused. Why would they pay more? Barcelona was in a crisis. They had no money. They had no leverage. Nike assumed Barcelona was bluffing. They assumed the club was too broke to walk away. So, Laporta did the unthinkable. He initiated what we call the nuclear option. He summoned his executives and activated BLM, Barca Licensing and Merchandising. This is the internal arm of the club that makes mugs, scarves, and retro shirts. Laporta's order was simple: design a match kit, manufacture it, and prepare to launch our own brand. This wasn't just a PowerPoint presentation to scare the Nike executives. This was a declaration of independence. Laporta was threatening to terminate the Nike contract, accusing them of breaches, and become the first major club in world football to manufacture its own kit. The logic was ruthless. If Nike won't pay us what we are worth, we will cut out the middleman. We will make the shirts ourselves. We will keep 100% of the profit. It sounded insane. It sounded like logistical suicide. But Laporta knew something Nike didn't. He was willing to burn the boats. But here is the rule of leverage. A threat is only real if you are willing to execute it. Nike's lawyers were skeptical. They thought, they are bluffing. They can't produce 2 million shirts in 3 months. They don't have the factories. So, Laporta had to prove them wrong. He didn't just design the shirt, he ordered the production run. He authorized the manufacturing of an initial batch, 300,000 units. He sent the orders to factories in Turkey and Asia. The machines started spinning. The fabric was cut. The crests were sewn. He spent roughly 4 million euros, 24 million reals, of the club's scarce cash on manufacturing costs, shipping, and logistics. Think about the madness of that move. A club that cannot register players like Dani Olmo due to salary cap restrictions, spending 4 million euros on a shirt that might never be sold. But when the physical samples arrived in Barcelona, when the photos started leaking, when the crates started piling up in the warehouse, the mood in Oregon changed. Nike realized he isn't bluffing,
he actually has the stock. This was the turning point. The existence of those 300,000 shirts was a loaded gun placed on the negotiation table. It forced Nike to panic. Losing Barcelona to Puma would be bad. Losing Barcelona to an internal brand would be a catastrophic paradigm shift for the entire sportswear industry. The result? Nike blinked. They came back to the table. They ripped up the old contract, and they signed a new mega deal reported to be worth 1.7 billion euros over the next 14 years. It includes a signing bonus of $150 million, cash that Barcelona needed immediately to solve their financial fair play issues. Now, let's do the math. Let's look at this transaction through the eyes of an auditor. On one side of the ledger, we have a loss. The cost of manufacturing 300,000 unbranded shirts is roughly 4 million euros. Those shirts are now useless. They are a sunk cost. On the other side of the ledger, we have a gain. The new contract increased the value of the partnership by hundreds of millions of euros, plus a $150 million instant signing bonus. If you spend $4 million to secure a deal worth $1.7 billion, what is your return on investment? It is roughly 42,000%. In the world of high finance, the $4 million wasn't wasted on fabric. It was a transaction cost. It is no different than paying a lawyer, a banker, or a consultant to close a merger. The 300,000 shirts were not a product. They were a tool. They were the price of leverage. Laporta essentially burned a pile of cash to create smoke, and that smoke choked Nike into submission. To the fan, it looks like waste. To the strategist, it is the most efficient use of capital in the club's recent history. He spent pennies to unlock billions.
But there is a dark side to this victory: the hangover. The deal is signed, the Nike Swoosh stays on the kit. Everyone is shaking hands. But what happens to the warehouse? Barcelona is now the owner of 300,000 forbidden jerseys. Contractually, under the new deal with Nike, they are strictly banned from selling them. They cannot sell them as official merchandise because that would breach Nike's exclusivity rights. They cannot give them away because that would devalue the Nike product. These shirts are now a stranded asset. In accounting terms, the club has to perform an inventory write-off. They have to formally declare the stock as valueless on the 2024-2025 balance sheet. Item, internal kit, value, 0. This creates a logistical and ethical nightmare. FC Barcelona prides itself on being més que un club, more than a club. They have sustainability departments, they talk about the environment, and yet they have manufactured 300,000 polyester garments using water, energy, and labor that are destined for the incinerator or a landfill. They are radioactive inventory. If they leak onto the black market, Nike sues. If they are destroyed publicly, the environmentalists protest. So they sit in the dark, gathering dust, a secret stockpile that can never see the light of day. It is a monument to corporate waste. It is the ugly physical reality of supply chain risk used as a weapon. Laporta won the war, but he left a battlefield littered with casualties. In this case, the casualties are cotton and plastic. So, was it a management disaster, or was it a stroke of genius? The answer is it was both. It was an environmental disaster. Ideally, you bluff with a PDF, not with a factory order, but it was a financial masterstroke. Most clubs beg sponsors for money. They accept what they are given. They are passive. Barcelona, even in its darkest hour, proved it still has teeth. They threatened to kill the sponsor, and they bought the bullet to do it. The 300,000 shirts rotting in that warehouse are not a mistake. They are the receipt of victory. Every time you see Lamine Yamal wearing that new Nike kit, remember the ghost jersey that died so the Nike contract could live. It turns out the most expensive shirt in Barcelona's history isn't the one Lionel Messi wore in the Champions League final. It is the one that nobody will ever wear.